Thank you for joining us, Tom. I'm joined here today with Tom Albanese, who's just chaired our first day of Mining Journal Select. Thank you for that. And I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions, if that's all right. The first one is around copper, because we've heard so much about it. We've heard about the copper shortages today. How do you see this playing out?
Well, this has been playing out for a good part of the past 10 years, really, because I can just remember the comments that, you know, by 2016, we'd have a copper shortage. By 2017, 2018, we'd have a copper shortage. And it's just been getting tighter and tighter. We have a few new mines being developed, but not as many as to meet just the depletion of the existing mines that were taking place. At the same time, we've had, I think, you know, we had a demand shock for copper back in the early 2000s when China came in, and that settled out, and that we thought that was probably the end of that big demand growth. But we all know the decarbonization agenda, removing internal combustion engines, putting electric vehicles on the road, a lot more electricity, replacing the use of coal, using natural gas, using gasoline, all will be copper intensive. And for the past 2 or 3 years, we've recognized that decarbonization will be another big demand shock coming. And I think that we've been saying it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, fewer new mines. Mines that I was involved with 20 years ago, they're still in permitting stage, or they're still in some type of controversy, so they're not coming in. And I think we now have a new demand driver coming, because as people are all now talking about AI and these data centers, I just use the example of a nuclear power plant paired with a learning center. I have no idea what that learning center is going to do to teach AI to do something. That is incredibly electricity intensive, and it will be even more copper intensive. So we're just adding one more demand shock on top of that, and we're not adding the mines for that. We've seen over the past couple months big quick move up in copper prices from about $4 up, $5 and then back down to $4.50. But all of a sudden people are starting to wake up to this being something that's real. It's not something that we can delay that much further. So I think from my perspective, it actually plays well to where I'm advising people I'm working with in the mining industry, whether on the board or in advisory capacity. This is a good place to focus: copper exploration, copper development, and copper operations. I think that this is going to be something that's going to play in with us for the next 10 years or so. I don't think the NIMBY movement's going to go away. People are going to say, well, we need more copper, so let's go ahead and develop this stuff. No big deal, we'll ignore the environmental or the native heritage or that. Those pressures, the social pressures, will still stay unpacked. I'll use the example, all these activist groups are using the internet, using AI to do it all. They're going to be burning up more electricity themselves. But that's one of the ironies of this picture. But at the end of the day, and by the way, the other part of it is that there's less capital in the natural resources sector. There's so many other choices for investors to make, and interest rates are higher now, so people are either investing in other areas or just putting into T-bills. So that's a safe bet. So less capital go into a sector which needs more capital. We're dealing with inflationary events. All of these are going to be very much positive for copper in the long term. But that's not permanent, because as we heard from Rick Rule today, starting in the early part of the session, first rule is that high prices fix high prices. So markets will work. We will see higher prices leading to more capital coming back into the sector, more people will be doing exploration, more frontiers will be opening up, and we'll see copper supply coming in. But it's going to take some time, it's going to take longer than expected, but we'll also see substitution. I mean, for as long as I can remember, people have been taking copper out of use for things like copper pipes. I remember one conference where there were these big speakers as a backdrop, and I said, new speakers use a lot less copper than those big speakers you would have seen in a rock band in the 1960s. So you see, you get more copper thrifting. You're going to see more aluminum replacing applications for copper and wiring and different types of heat exchange. So you will see substitution. You'll see new technologies come in. Some technologies we know, like the leaching of chalcopyrite type ores, will actually bring new supply in without a lot of new investment. And I suspect there's going to be technology we haven't even thought about yet. So I think what we should expect is a prolonged period of copper tightness, probably higher copper price as a consequence of that. But again, markets will sort of work their way through, and we'll see probably some rebalancing, but probably at a higher copper price than we've been used to for the past couple of years.
So, and you've touched upon new frontiers there. You mentioned it a couple of times. Could you expand on that a little bit more?
Well, I've always been an explorer.
Yeah.
So my very first job in mining back when I was in college was in the exploration business.
Right.
And I've always been intrigued by the art of discovery and how it can change things. So one of the things I'm doing in my spare time is I'm involved with a deep sea mining project. Yeah. And if you're looking for new resources, and again, you have to be sensitive to the deep ocean issues, the biodiversity, the benchmark it against existing mines, and there's less biodiversity impacts, but it's important to do that. If it can be done with technology, most of the technology is available today, and you can be done in a way which is sensitive, certainly a lot less impactful than terrestrial mining, then I think we can find a way to get those metals into the market and help with the energy transition.
Okay, well, thank you. That's really interesting.
Thank you very much.
Today. Thank you.